Greetings and welcome back to Gadfly Academy. We're going to continue our consideration of the topic of attention today. While we're going to address the question of attention from a variety of perspectives moving forward, one of the main ways will be that of attention as a habit. At the foundation of our problems with technology are the bad habits we have developed in our relationship with technology. By looking at and hopefully changing our technology habits, we will be better able to reclaim the attention that we have lost. So, from the moment we're born, we begin to develop habits that will last us a lifetime. In the beginning, the habits are natural and common to all babies. We sleep when we're tired. We eat when we're hungry or get cranky if we're not fed. Childhood provides all of us with the opportunity to experiment with the world, to find out what works for us, what we like, and so on. Early on in life, habits, good or bad, begin to form us, and they are either encouraged or discouraged by the culture around us, our families, our friends, school, etc. One of the struggles with moving from childhood into adulthood is that each of us has the opportunity and challenge to decide for ourselves what kind of life we want to lead, what kind of person we want to become. As children, we are used to our habits not having serious consequences, and it is usually difficult to see the effects of these habits because they become manifest slowly, almost imperceptibly, over time. As I mentioned earlier, my work right now is focused on one habit in particular, likely the most important habit of all, how we focus our attention. So why is attention so important? Attention is important because attention is, in a sense, our life. How we spend every second of every day constitutes our life. And our attention is how we choose or allow someone else to choose to spend every second of our life. We cannot return to the past, and we do not know what the future holds. The only thing we have control over is the present. And so controlling our attention is key to controlling our life. Most of us live much of our lives simply reacting to the world around us. Increasingly, the modern world furnishes us with a never-ending barrage of problems, concerns, opportunities, dilemmas, and overwhelmed by this barrage, we often, perhaps usually, respond reactively rather than proactively. When our lives are spent responding reactively, we subconsciously have the sense that we are not in control of our life. Part of the angst of many modern people is at least partially the result of this sense of a lack of control. It's important to realize that this situation has been largely engineered by those benefiting from the attention economy. Since its rise in the 18th and 19th centuries, modern advertising has become increasingly sophisticated in its approach to capturing our attention. The popularization of social media and then the smartphone from the early 2000s until now is the latest and the most powerful advertising platform the world has ever seen. If one is to reclaim one's attention and to learn once again to live life proactively rather than reactively, one must understand how one's attention is being actively mined by advertisers and social media companies. As an aside, if you haven't already watched the documentary on this topic, The Social Dilemma, I highly recommend it. So what to do? As I mentioned, in the weeks and months to come, we will be looking at our modern problem with attention. As with all things in life, it's one thing to observe a problem in the abstract, and another thing to recognize how it manifests in one's own life and then to figure out how to address it. This work moving forward will be to help clarify the problem, as well as to offer tools for reclaiming our control over our attention. To that end, before closing today, I'd like to suggest that the essence of the modern struggle with attention can be distilled down to two central issues. One, a confusion of values, and two, obviously addictive technologies. So most of us have a confusion of values because we haven't taken the time to ask ourselves what our core values are, or at least to clarify what they are, and where we draw the line between what we will and what we will not do, what we will and will not accept. An example of a question regarding technology that we may have to ask ourselves at some point in the near future is, will we, for example, allow Elon Musk or whoever it is whose technology is victorious in this technology arms race, will we allow them to attach a technology such as Musk's Neuralink to our brain? If so, why? And if not, why not? If and when Musk's technology is offered to us, we may and will likely be living in a world where there will be significant disadvantages to not accepting his Neuralink. Historically, this is how new technologies have been adopted, not, that is, by thinking through these questions, but just by the social pressure. To take the television as an example, it was introduced into the world nearly 100 years ago, and no one was forced to buy a television. Even though society had functioned very well without the television, most people ended up deciding that having a television was a necessity. This sense of being a necessity was driven largely by social pressure, assisted certainly by modern advertising. Not having a television meant that one would be left out of conversations that increasingly revolved around television culture. Of course, with Musk's Neuralink technology, there may also be even more professional pressures to accept it. Without it, you may be left behind, so to speak, and intellectually unable to keep up with your peers. In the essays that are to come, I will be looking at the question of values, why we have had difficulty finding clarity regarding values, and how we can begin to have clarity once again. So values, I think, are really important, especially if we are to change our habits. It helps to have clarity in our value system if we are going to have the energy and focus to change our habits. As I said, the other issue, as I see it, is the question of the addictive quality of modern technologies. Most of us spend little time reflecting on the business models and incentives behind the technologies that we adopt and use daily. As I mentioned earlier, this documentary, The Social Dilemma, looks at this quite a bit, and the gentleman who made the documentary has this center in Silicon Valley. I'll link to it below this video. The Center for, I think, Humane Technology, where he deals with many of the kind of questions that we're discussing here. It's worth your checking out. So after considering the question of values, we will spend time looking at the addictive nature of technologies, as well as suggesting ways that we can push back against the constant onslaught of new addictive technologies. So finally, on the topic of habit change, I've read countless articles, studies, and books on the question of attention and technology and habit change, and I realize that there is a great deal of nuance in each person's relationship with these things. As I mentioned earlier, my desire is to find practical solutions, tools, practices, and so on that will help. which is why I am particularly interested in habit formation and change. As I mentioned, a foundation of successful habit change is a focus on and an understanding of one's core values. It's our values that determine our goals, and in order to achieve our goals and to make habit change stick, we need to create systems. So, in brief, our work moving forward will be, one, to clarify our values and goals, and then to create systems and environments to counteract the addictive nature of technologies. So that is it for today. Before closing, however, I did want to ask you for your opinion. In particular, what do you think of my distillation of the problem of attention into two central issues, that of a lack of clarity in values and the addictive nature of technologies? Have I oversimplified the situation? Have I missed something important that I should be addressing? As always, please let me know in the comments section below. And also, finally, if you'd like to watch our other videos on attention, please click on the playlist with all the videos in the upper right of the screen right now. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Download the How Did We Get Here reading list. There's a link below this video. Have a great weekend, and we will see you again soon. Take care.